Right, here's a little project that came in. It's not actually a project. This is something the customers actually refused. Well, I gave him the options I gave him weren't exactly that it could be repaired that easily. This is the power supply from that little mixer. It was repaired by somebody else about 10 years ago, and it never really worked properly after that. Customer says that he used it 2 or 3 times and then it broke again. It's been lying in a box ever since. So one of the first staggering thing was that whenever I came to take this out of the out from the inside of the mixer, there's this cover that goes on. So I think it goes on that way. There's a cover that goes on here, which was held in the air, like about maybe at an angle like this, by not one, not two, but 3 separate pieces of steel that have nothing to do with this mixer at all. And these were partly glued, partly bolted in a way that caused the top side of this thing to be canted up so much that it was heading off the circuit board in here. Now I've got this closed up again just so that I can contain everything for the while, because it's only the power supply that's wrong with it. This was shorting out onto the main board for a start. Secondly, this is blowing a fuse. So that was the problem. You stick as many fuses in as you like, it just went bang instantly. So that tells me something on the low side of on the high side, sorry, of the switch mode. We're looking at the switch mode power supply here. Roughly in the middle of the transformer there is where we've got mains and high voltage DC on this side, and then we've got the low voltage on this side, and the switching and stuff happens on this chip here. This is the chip that I actually suspect at the side here. I've gone and measured chokes, X and Y capacitors, bulk capacitor, bridge rectifier, and pretty much everything in between. And everything works out, and I can't test. That's the one chip that I can't test. It's called TOP245YN. And there are 6 pins on it, and the only 2 that I can really tell are the source and drain. All the other ones are control inputs. I have no way of measuring those while it's out of circuit like this. But the big clue, well, first of all, let me just go and show you what I've inherited and why this became a kind of like, hey, you could have this back, but it's going to cost you more money than probably a new mixer. Anyway, let's zoom in here for a start, and I'm sure you can start to see some of the horrors unfold. I don't know what's going on here. It looks like a broken trace. Why it broke, I don't know. They haven't replaced this. This looks like the original chip, but they have desoldered it and resoldered it. I can tell that because they didn't clean flux from anything, and you'll see the flux underneath the thing. So I have a feeling they've pulled the trace off this. They've put it in with a piece of what looks like multi-strand copper. Sorry, I'm just going to zoom. They've put it back in with what seems like a piece of multi-strand copper, and it's kind of mostly in the air. So I've got to do a bit of restructuring with that to recreate that trace again. Honestly, I'm doing this. I'm going to investigate trying to put this back together again, but I'm not. Like I said, I'm not going to maybe attempt to get the whole mixer up and running again. It's been donated to the donor pile, but I would like to see, first of all, there's a good learning experience in here. I never like one of these things to go to waste for a learning experience if I can. And like I said, I've been through this part of the circuit. All seems to tally up except for the one that I can't test. And if I zoom in closer on that, I'll give you a few more clues. You can start to see all the burnt deposits, burn deposits down here. This is all kind of suited up. And the clue, by the way, to half of this being a problem is these things here come out of, and let's just show you the bits. Here's the bits here. These are the kind of little insulation tabs that go on the back of it, and you can tell This was not put in with fresh thermal paste. They took it out, they removed it from the circuit board, they removed the circuit board from the thing, took out all these insulators and whatever else, and they just put it back together again with no thermal paste on it, okay? And the same went here. This one here comes inside this little rubber boot, goes over that chip, goes over that chip like that, and let me turn it around. Goes over that chip like that, and then there's a spring clip that holds it into the spring clip goes over the whole assembly here and holds it to this the case part, which acts then as a heat sink. You can tell this is just the old crumbly thermal paste. This was not put on fresh when they pulled that out, so they didn't attach one single bit of thermal paste to any of the hot components. So whether that's caused this to blow or not, I don't know. But like I said, you can see all the kind of carbon deposits below it there. Before I show you the underside of the board, which you might have seen at the very start, let's just show you this is the part of the heatsink. You can see the burn marks at the bottom of it there, and this is the insulative sheet that goes underneath the circuit board. Once again, you can see where the burn marks are. This is the telltale sign that something has gone horribly wrong. Catastrophic, really, at that part. So let's just go to the bottom of the board, and you see the mess that these guys left behind. And I say they left behind, this is the name and number, etc., of the people as written in Sharpie on the back of these sheets of metal, the date that they fixed it and what they did. So I wouldn't allow them to make me a sandwich, never mind try and fix a piece of electronics for me. So you can see here, remember I said on the other side of the board that this was all kludge wire and whatever else. You can see that they've desoldered this themselves for whatever reason. They've taken that out, and when they put it back in again, they literally have they haven't cleaned a thing after them. It looks like they've replaced, now whether they needed to replace all three, these are diodes on the far side. Whether they needed to replace all three or not, I don't know. I haven't also checked to see what type of diode. It might be that the circuit's calling, I don't have the circuit diagram, but it might be that the circuit is calling for shotkeys or whatever else, and they just put in normal diodes, which are just going to overheat, cause all sorts of other problems. So you can see all the kludges and stuff that are around here. I think they've just reflowed these two here. This is part of the, sorry for the glare, this is part of the, come on, don't glare on me, right? This is part of the transformer that's in there. So and so effectively what you've got is at this junction of the circuit board, in fact from here across here and down through here, you'll see there's a gap where there's nothing. So on this side of it, this is all mains voltage and high voltage DC, and then once it gets switched on the inside the transformer, it gets switched, by the way, by this IC that we suspected being the problem. So once it starts getting switched there, it becomes whatever DC you need at the far side of it again. Okay, so this is the low side, this is the high side, and that's the separation between the two. The only thing that feeds back, talks back between the two sides is this little, there's 6 pins here, 3 on either side, and that's a chip, that's an opto-isolator. And the control voltages will be fed back from here. They're converted, it's an LED that's in here. So the LED light shines across onto a transistor here, and then so it gets converted back into voltage, but it just means there's no galvanic connection, there's nothing, there's no volts across, not no volts across, but there's no direct current path across from this side of the board to this side where something could go wrong, and we end up with high voltage on this side, which could be dangerous. That's where the bits the humans interact with this side, the mains, the electricity board interact with this side. Is that okay? So this control signal then comes down here and goes on to this little chip that we think is blown up. That sends the control voltage to say how fast or slow to switch, or how much to switch, or how long to switch for. to give us whatever DC we need at the far side. Okay, so it could be that that this side of the board is just completely toast, where it's not allowing the correct control signals to come back, or it could be just that this IC has given up the ghost. I really don't know. Like I said, it's you can see why. By the way, these are discontinued for quite a while, so I haven't been able to find a spare power supply from anywhere. Otherwise, just swapping in a power supply would have got the thing going again. Anyway, that's kind of where we are with it. As you can see, it's a kind of catalogue of disaster, really. I didn't want to be able to put with all these previous repairs, you never know exactly what's been done or what they've replaced something with or not. And so there's no way I could just do all the work that was needed, which is going to cost money, then to give it back to the customer and say, look, there's no guarantee with this. I don't know if it's going to last a week or whatever else. So the guy needs it for his musician, so he needs a reliable mixer for playing live, and he's gone off to buy a new one. This one here is probably 10-15 years old. So this one has now become an exercise in trying to see what went wrong, and certainly a good lesson for you never know what you're going to get back from some of these repair companies. But that's just, I don't think I've ever seen worse in terms of care, or I don't know where to start. It really is kind of beggaring beyond belief. So that's where we're at the minute. A little bit of an exercise in frustration, a little bit of a lesson learning here to go on, and let's see if I can uncover what went wrong here. And I don't know, I might do a part 2 on this at some point, but the chances are this will never work again. I just want to see where it went wrong. If I can find one of these chips, the ICs, cheap enough, I might just buy that and put it in there. But I would nearly suspect that it's going to go wrong again, because it's being told to go wrong, basically, that kind of thing, something like that. Don't know. We'll see. I'll make an estimate of what sort of time to put into it and see if I've got enough time to do it. So if you see a part 2 on this, it's because I went for it.